card valuation stream thing that
You
we
know
do?
what it is.
You know
We
what it is. There
are
we go.
reviewing the newest expansion. This is deep cut, so we're talking about the bad cards. These are
And
cards that
legendaries.
yeah, and legendaries, which some of them are quite good. So these are cards that, at least for the bad cards, the non-legendary cards, you might have to draft a few of them. You don't want to draft them, and whenever you do draft them, they are going to definitely be one of the worst cards in your deck.
They
So that's the
will,
situation that we're in.
yeah, they will basically not impact the meta, is kind of what we're getting at. The legendary cards, you won't see enough for it to impact the meta much, and these other cards are just so bad that people will not draft them.
Yep.
Kind of where we're at. So the first card, these are ones rated D+. D+ is where your Crocs and your Raptors are. So they are like your standard, old school neutral 2-drops. They're worse than a Yeti. They really don't cut it in this meta anymore. You will be sad to get these. But they're not like dead in the water or anything. They're still D+, right? They're like, could be almost a Yeti. Like, for example, Gnome Private. It is a 1-mana 1/3. Honorable kill, gain +2 attack. It's fine. This is a pretty good 1-drop as far as 1-drops go, but it doesn't do anything, like draw a card or anything. It just is a 1-drop, and it's not overstated. It's potentially overstated, but you have to actually kill something with the last damage, which is like really hard. I mean, it's really hard for a 1/3 to kill anything.
This isn't a tempo meta. So your advantage of putting something out on turn 1, especially something that's not like offensively oriented to even try to, put that pressure on, the reward for you doing it just isn't that good. And how many people are going to be playing that 1/1 or 2/1 on turn 1? My guess is not that many, because people will recognize what sort of meta it is and not, try to tempo out that 2/1. Like, it's just not a good play. It's not something you want to draft, right? Yeah, for example, Mecharoo is back. I'm not going to prioritize Mecharoo in my drafts. I don't think you should either, because once again, that's not the game that people are playing, and they have too many ways to remove you.
I don't know. How about that corporate? Set up the corporate for your 3-drop and the Mecharoo second body.
Like, once again, this is just hurt by its size. So if you're sitting there being like, wait, this is like if you're comparing this to a Yeti and you're saying this is like worse than a Yeti, why is Yeti better when this has like an upside, plus it has like more stats than it should get, according to the Yeti formula? Size matters. Like, it does. This is just a little bit too small. And that's why it is where it is.
Yup. Alright. Next up is Gangster. Gangster is a 2-mana 4/2 stealth. Super good. Except it has a drawback, which is after your opponent plays a minion, attack it. So it's bad. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not unplayably bad, but it's not good. Worse than a Yeti. Your opponent gets to decide how it takes the 4 damage. That's bad.
Yeah, this is... I can imagine scenarios where you play this and it actually makes your opponent's turn a little bit awkward. There's too many instances where it just doesn't. Yeah, it's fine. But once again, like, if you look at where a 2-mana 3/2 is, it's like right here, right? It's like so we value it basically the same as like a normal Raptor. It's just like sometimes it'll be better, sometimes it'll be worse. So that's why the score is where it's at.
Yeah. Someone in chat said it's like a face-up snipe. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly a face-up snipe. And we've always thought snipe was okay, right? So this is like okay. It's like a 2-drop. Like, snipe was an okay 2-drop. This is an okay 2-drop. Not good. But what I like about this over snipe sometimes, though, is that sometimes your opponent doesn't play a minion. sometimes they can't play a minion. You know, they're doing other stuff. And then you actually just have a 2 mana 4/2 stealth, which is kind of nice. So, all right,
Yep.
that's a D plus. Next up, another D plus card, Grim Totem Bounty Hunter. Grim Totem Bounty Hunter is a 3 mana 4/2 battle cry, destroy a legendary minion. This one's an epic card.
Why do we have this stuff?
Eh,
I like, once again, why do we have all of these like hate cards, eating cards, all of these things? Why? What's the point? Like, it doesn't even matter what the score is for this thing. I don't even care. It's just like it could be an understated 3-drop, which sucks, like really bad, or it can just swing the game. It's like stupid, and it's. Oh, let's get rid of the hate cards. Let's get rid of like all these cards that like, eat things, and Dragon Slayer looks tame compared to the rest because it only deals 6 damage. It's like, oh well, you might not even kill a dragon. This is really dumb. I hate this.
I don't mind this as much as Dragon Slayer, actually, because there's a lot less like legendary minions than dragons, and most legendary minions are like really, really big in that they come out in the late game and they do something on the turn that they come out. So killing the body of a legendary minion, it's like an assassin. It's like a cheap assassin that puts a body on the board. But it does so late in the game that the swing is not as important. So I don't like, as far as hate cards go, because its target is legendary minion, it's not like as terrible, I think. As far as hate cards go, of course all hate cards are terrible. But that also makes it like just, kind of not as good. All right. Next up, we have Snowblind Harpy. Remember, these are D pluses. These are about Yeti level. Not Yeti level. They're below Yeti level. Snowblind Harpy is a 3 mana 3/4. Battle Cry, if you're holding a Frost spell, gain 5 armor. I think this would be a Yeti. I think this would be exactly a Yeti.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, like,
this is not. So this will be like the highest of the D pluses. Like,
yeah,
we could have put this
there
in C, and it would have been kind of the same.
But so remember, Yeti is the lowest of the low C's, and then
or the highest of the high D plus,
or the highest of the high D.
We made that line Yeti.
Yep. So this is like, if you guys are like, oh, the effect doesn't do, yes, the effect doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
like,
this is just a 3 mana.
We agree with you there for this. This is right on the line there. So this is a 3 mana 3/4, and that's where the score is. It's a 3 mana 3/4. That's enough. Yep.
All right. So those are the D pluses, the ones that are slightly below Yeti. Now we're getting into the Ds, and now we're getting into bad cards. Like, really, don't draft these. The other ones were like, try not to draft these. These are now like, really don't draft these. They won't necessarily tank your deck, but you're gonna feel it. Like, these are not good cards. So the first one is a Iron Deep Trog. It is a 1 mana 1/2. After your opponent casts a spell, summon a copy of this. I don't know what to say about it.
God damn! This thing is. So look, you can actually get some value out of this sometimes, but it's mostly because I don't think your opponent cares.
Yeah. Also, your opponent could have a coin.
Yeah.
Like, keep in mind, if you play this on turn 1 and your opponent's player 2, your opponent has a coin. If your opponent doesn't kill this before your opponent uses the coin, you just played a 1 mana 1/2 1/2, which is even better than Mekaru.
Yep. So look, this is a D.
Yeah. Like, if you're wondering why this isn't like just total trash, the coin is why this is not the total trash.
It's actually not that hard to like get this to trigger, because you're like, a lot of people are going to be slinging spells, because there's quite a few ways to get spells, especially for some of the what I assume will be popular classes. But this is one in which either you or your opponent, when you see this on the other side of the field, I don't think you care. You just like, whatever spell you want to cast, just give them an extra 1/2. It doesn't really matter. But for 1 mana, it's like, so it's not an F, it's a D. Remember, we're no longer in D pluses. This is a D.
It is bad. D tier is literally called bad. Like if you look at our spreadsheet. By the way, if you're listening to this, there is a spreadsheet that we are making public that has all of these. If you're watching the video the day after, like starting on Monday, or if you're listening to the podcast, we'll tweet it out at the end of our recording of all this. And if you're in chat right now, the spreadsheet, it's out there. Just because we should have it, so that I think before this, Caro was doing it, and then sometimes he has to like go to sleep or something, and then miss chunks and stuff. So we're just putting it out there now, so it's easy to follow along and see what our scores are. So that's Iron Deep Trog. The next one is a card we've seen before because we got it wrong before. In the last video and/or podcast episode, you may have heard us say Stormpie Quartermaster was a C. And then we somewhat struggled to justify it, but there are certain use cases in which it would be decent. But
I don't like it. I don't know.
All right, Merv still likes it, but this was because I initially put it in the wrong column. I put it in C, I meant to put it in D. The math says it's D. This is the 2-mana 2/2. After you cast a spell, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. The coin counts, a lot of spells in this meta, but it's still a 2-mana 2/2. So it's pretty bad on turn 2. It's almost unplayable on turn 2. And later on in the game, you get a decent sized card advantage with it. Better than a normal 2-mana card, but still around a Yeti. So
alright, well, that's where it's at. I don't care enough to really fight for it.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's bad, guys. I think Mervs irrationally likes this card.
I kind of like cards like that. So, people are mentioning History Buff. I'm like, oh god, I love
Okay, History Buff was a much better card. It was a 3-mana 3/4.
I'm not saying this is better or even close to History Buff, but I'm saying I do really like cards like that. So I can see why I might potentially be a little bit swayed.
Okay.
All right, potentially.
Okay. Next is Reflecto Engineer. Reflecto Engineer is a bad card. Don't let anyone tell you different. It's a 3-mana 2/4. Battlecry, swap the attack and health of all minions in both players' hands.
Yeah, I don't even know how to really analyze this. Here's the thing I will say. Stats are just very, very polarized nowadays, such that it's much more common to find something that has super high attack and low health, or low attack and super high health. You could mess up your opponents in some way. A lot of times you're messing yourself up in interesting ways as well. But here's the one thing that is consistent. The stats for the cost suck.
So we need to keep hammering this home. 3 3s for 3 and 2 4s for 3 are terrible.
Yeah. So that at the end of the day, it's like that is the one consistent thing. And I see some people that are like, I'm taking it because I love it. Do it. It's a funny card. It is a funny card. It'll create moments.
It's bad though.
I can't see this being good, but I can totally 100% understand if you want to take it every single time.
All right, next up is Frostwolf Warmaster. Again, we're in D. These are bad cards. The 4-mana 3/3. It costs 1 less for each card you've played this turn.
Okay.
And we are emphasizing this again. 2 4s and 3 3s are bad. I don't care if you could play 3 cards in this turn and this card only costs 1 mana and it is turn 6 or something. It is still a 3/3.
Okay.
You can coin this out and it's a 3-mana 3/3. That is sadly probably one of the better uses for this card. It is bad.
Next.
Next we have Frozen Mammoth. 4-mana 6/7. This is frozen until you cast a fire spell. This is a D in fire classes only. If you do not have access to fire spells, this is obviously an F.
Yep. I love the flavor. It's really good. Like I love the kind of flavor and just the creativity of this card. But yeah, it's not good. It's not good even if you have fire spells, because you won't have that many fire spells.
And you were forced to use it after you play this card. which
Yes.
like is fire spells are generally conditional of some sort, right? They're removals or whatever, so you may not want to use it. Magisto ALC says this card should have had taunt. No, that would make it too good. This card should not have taunt.
Wait, if this had taunt, we'd be talking about an actual
Like a
like
B card.
like a like a B card, something really
Yeah,
good
this would be
actually.
something really good about taunt. It should not have taunt. Thank God it
No.
doesn't have taunt. All right, so that's all the cards in the set that's not legendary and that is neutral. We've gone over all of it. Again, you don't have a lot of useless cards, right? Even most of the bad cards, something like Iron Deep Trog that you kind of look at and you dismiss. It's like, well, your opponent has a coin, they want to use a coin. This could be actually really good as a start for you. Like, there's kind of a place for all of these bad cards, not as in that'll make them good, but as in that'll make them okay. So the power levels, even at the bottom end, are pretty good for this set. And the power levels on the top are insanely good, but there's not a lot of them. This is actually, like, if you just kind of don't look at the epic cards, I think this is actually a great neutral set for the arena in terms of power level. It's more swingy than I like, but I'm just kind of accepting that all things are more swingy than I like. The Blizzard's gonna go. Like, as you get more and more creative with your mechanics, it's just gonna get more and more swingy. But yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts about the neutrals before we move on to the legendary neutrals?
Nope. We move on to the legendaries.
All right, let's talk about the legendaries. We're gonna start with the best legendary. There are 5 legendaries, and we're gonna start with the best one. And I will spoil it for you right now. The best one is an S tier card. This is on the level of Ysera, Goliath, all the bigs. It is a really, really, really insanely good card. Pick it if you see it. It's gonna, like, I don't know that it's gonna be like, oh no, in the same level as Ysera, because unlike Ysera and unlike Goliath when it was dominating, this can't be easily discovered. Or generated. That's one of the reasons why Ysera is so annoying. And why Goliath was freaking terrible. But it is the same power level, and it is neutral. It is Ivus, the Forest Lord. It is a 1 mana 1/1 battle cry. Spend the rest of your mana and gain +2/+2, Rush, Divine Shield, or Taunt at random for each. They don't write it in there, but it won't randomly generate a double. So if you get Rush, you won't get Rush again and it do nothing. It's just out of the pool. So after you get Rush, Divine Shield, and Taunt, you can only get +2/+2s.
Yeah, which means it's insane. Which means it's actually just insane. You get so much stats. You get initiative. The Divine Shield and Taunt are really good, and you can customize it. Oh man, like Forbidden Ancient is somewhere just crying. Oh my
Okay,
god, this
Forbidden
is
Ancient can be
good.
played on turns 1 through 4. This is rough.
Okay, fair. Uh yes, but this is oh my god, it's so good. Right. So some people might see this and say, well, no, it's not as good as Goliath. It's not as good as Ysera. Like, it doesn't have that. It's not the same thing as those. And I will agree with you there. It's not the same thing. What it does is very different. And it's about how much you value this flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you should. You should value
It's
it,
like that
even
Forbidden
though.
Ancient, like you talked about, that Forbidden Ancient is crying. It's that same flexibility. We rated Forbidden Ancient super high, and people were like, what? I'm like, that flexibility. You can't.
Okay, you rated it that high. I've never
Okay,
liked it that high. You
fine.
always liked it. I've
I
always tried to
stand
bring
by
it
it
down.
as being that high. It is that
I don't.
flexibility. It uses up all
No.
your mana. It makes your turns perfect. This one's less flexible, but the payoff is way bigger, and you want to play it later on anyway.
Yeah, you definitely want to play this later on. It's just ridiculously good. So I'm like, I think this definitely belongs in S tier. So once again, yet another flexible removal thing. Um, in a meta that should be filled with a lot of those options, whether it comes from this set or it comes from Skullman's Academy. And I've seen this comment as well. So I will address this because some of you guys are out there that be like, Merps, what are you even doing reviewing this? You haven't been playing. In which I will say, yes. First of all, unfortunately, I have watched like every single one of Dreads' streams, so I am aware of what the current meta is. But also, there's a change. So how do you know the meta? You look at what cards are coming up. If you are saying, well, you don't know what the current meta is, first of all, that's false. And second of all,
It
no,
doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. If you're talking about Moargs and everything, you're wrong, because Moarg isn't in the meta anymore. I have looked at these, okay, and my guess is that because of Skullmance and because of these sets, you are going to be able to prolong the game because of all the initiative that is out there. Now, once again, I don't decide things. Blizzard does. They could make my statement and my guess so wrong by the changes that they are capable of doing. They can make me look like a fool. I don't think that they will. But like just based on the cards that are coming in and how I'm remembering kind of like this the Skullmance effect along with these new cards, I don't see tempo being good. That's just the way that I see it.
You mean
And there
early
might be
tempo?
like yeah. I just don't see early tempo working. Like if you commit to that, you can beat some decks. I don't think you are going that far on average if you are committing to early tempo in any capacity. So
Yeah.
that's just my guess.
Like what you have to do when you draft is draft good cards. Good cards are all focused on the late game because the
Yeah,
good cards are all in Skullomans and this current set. And so you will ultimately end up with a late game ish deck if you have a
yeah,
good deck at all because you're drafting good cards. If you draft early cards, you're going to draft bad cards. You're going to have a bad deck. So this is where it goes. All right. So yeah, so that's a S tier. One more S tier legendary to add to the set. Okay. Next up, we have two A tier cards. Two A tier cards. A tier legendaries, even in neutral, I wouldn't even ban them. I have problems with cards that are super powered, right? Like I like my Yetis, but legendaries they should have a little extra. So A tier legendaries are kind of where legendaries should be, I think. Like the powerful ones at least, the ones that are arena suitable. And we get two of them, so they'll be interesting to see in the meta. The first one is Korok the Blood Rager. Now, this is a 4 mana 3/5 card, and it has Death Rattle. If this was not honorably killed, resummon Korok. So it has to be honorably killed, which one means that if you kill it off on your turn, it can never be honorably killed, right? Because your opponent has to be your opponent's turn for them to get the honorable kill. Then this just regenerates. And on your opponent's turn, they have to actually get the exact lethal damage on, or else it just keeps popping back as a 3/5.
yeah. So look, it's A, which means it's really good. Um, the only thing holding this back from an S is that like sometimes it will suck. S cards tend to be consistently pretty amazing, you know? Like consistently really really good. This has a non-negligible chance to just kind of fizzle out.
Not non-negligible, a pretty good chance.
A fairly good chance, but
Like
like
it's not that hard to deal 5 damage to it. You could deal 3 and 2, 4 and ping. Just have something that deals five
right.
damage. And
Yeah.
let's say it regenerates once, right? You leave it alone, it kills itself on something, which means that it got really crap value because it dealt 5 damage to itself, right? Like what you're trying to do with these 3/5s is like eat something, right? But like instead you're killing it off somehow, and then you regenerate it. Like fine, you now got a 3/1 and a 3/5. You basically have a 3/5 divine shield of value, which is like nowhere near S tier. You have to get this to kind of trigger its like regeneration ability like 3 times to actually get S tier value, and that's not going to happen most of the time. Like if you average out the amount of value this gets, it's not going to regenerate 3 times on average. It's going to regenerate like once or twice, like 1.5 is my estimate.
Yep. Okay. Uh Afterwards, what do we got?
All right. So the other A tier legendary is Lokahar, the Ice Lord. Lokahar, the Ice Lord, is a 10 mana card. It is an elemental, and it is an 8/8. It has Rush, it has Wind Fury, and it costs 5 less if you have 15 health or less. So that means it only costs 5 mana.
Holy shit, that was terrible. We are never discussing this card after we discuss it this
Loco
time.
Kolar?
Okay. But this is a hard because it even if it costs 10 mana, it's not like it's not unplayable at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. And then you're able to get it for cheap when you need it the most, which is when you're at low health. So it's very good. I think it's a solid A card, and yeah, let's never talk about this card again.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, this should be uncontroversial. It's not an S tier card because it doesn't do that much. Like, it only deals 8 damage twice, and then he has to remove it, which, is a ridiculous amount of stuff, but it's not absurd. Even if you get it out at 5 mana. It's just really, really insanely good. And you will get it out at 5 mana a decent percentage of times. Okay. Then we have the 2 remaining legendaries. They are bad. They are D tier. They are both 4 mana 4/4s. One is Drekthar. He is a 4 mana 4/4. Battle Cry. If this costs more than every minion in your deck, summon 2 of them. You are not going to have a deck with only 3 mana minions and below in Arena. So this is just a 4 mana 4/4. The other card is pretty much the same. It is a Vandar Stormpike. It is a 4 mana 4/4. Battlecry. If this costs less than every minion in your deck, reduce their cost by 3. You are not going to have an entire arena deck with 5 mana minions and above. And if you do, you lose.
We're treating these as strictly 4 mana 4/4s.
Yes.
That's it. Yes. Anyways, people are saying that we missed Tower Sergeant as well. Did we miss that? I actually don't remember us talking about Tower Sergeant. So we might have missed that.
Did we miss Tower Sergeant?
I think
we missed Tower Sergeant. Oh God. Okay.
All right, let's talk about it right now.
All right. Well, yeah. We missed Tower Sergeant. It does not belong in this video. It is a C. It is not in the. We do D plus through F in this one, so it should have been the previous video. And conversely, right, Stormpie Quartermaster should be in this video, but wasn't the previous one. So I guess we're just doing stuff now. Tower Sergeant's a 4 mana 4/4 common. It Battle Cry. If you control at least 2 other minions, gain +2/+2. And it's a C. It's better than a Yeti slightly.
That's fine. Like, this will trigger a decent amount.
Yeah.
But when it doesn't trigger, it's real bad. Like, really, really bad. Well,
like
you saw where it's at. It's deep. Yeah. So we're saying that this is actually going to trigger like a decent amount of times. Just think about like Traveling Merchant, right? And how often you are able to get a decent sized Traveling Merchant. This is like kind of the same thing.
Also, to the people in chat who are talking about missing the Scout, we did not miss the Scout. Had it in the previous video. It was also a C, but we actually covered it in the previous video. Unlike this one, which we just didn't talk about. But yes, Tower Sergeant is a C and belongs in the previous video/podcast. All right, well, that is all. That is now all the neutral cards, including the legendaries. I don't know. I don't think there's much to say here that we didn't say in the previous video. That was the main video. This is kind of the fun other stuff that we're wrapping up as we go ahead and kick off the class cards next.
All right.
You have any shout outs to give?
Let's thank the Patreons one more time. We got RV Night Train, Yin, 15 Gold Cringe, Eric L, Aaron LS, Dan F, Karova, REG, 4P, and brand new. Thank you. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Yeah, and remember, all these scores are going to be in that spreadsheet. That link we will tweet if you're listening to this after the fact. If you're alive, it's just in Twitch chat right now. All right, see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna need to go to the bathroom.
All right. What did Gangster get? What
Oh
did
yeah, let me
Gangster?
post it first.
Oh yeah. Post the thing. Oh yeah, it was only like 30 minutes, guys. It was only like 30 minutes. We did it.
Oh hey, we actually went under once.
We did it, guys. Wow.
Boom! It's all in. Although the formatting is awful.
Is it?
I will reformat this to be less awful. There we go.
Okay, it's been updated. You guys can all see the scores.
See all the scores now for the neutral.
Yeah.
Berber.
Carol, why are you interested in Gangster? Is that something that you were? Is that like a controversial thing? Did you think it was better? I don't know. We didn't.